Right, I have the shock. So for the shock, really quick, you need a 2mm driver, and you go through the back of this screw and just hold it, and then you need a 5.5 nut driver, and then that just removes, and then you're going to have this little piece of plastic, and this will just slide off. Now, you're going to need a wrench. If you have a shock tool, that works as well. Well, more than likely. These are really tight, so then you just hold the wrench and just twist and turn. So now I can go ahead and remove this. Now I don't remember what kit came with this wrench, but let's see. So this is how the shock works. So there you have a, that's a piece of rubber. I completely forgot what that's called, not a bladder. Can't remember. Here is the shock oil. So the other one was just as bad. So after a while, you do have to change the oil on the shocks and you have to maintain them. There's no way to get around it, especially if you're in a lot of dirt. So let's just say once a year, unless you drive it quite often, then you're going to do this a lot more often. Now, I don't have any new seals or anything to really rebuild this. So I'm just going to tell you how this works. And then I'm just going to refill it. So you're going to need 2 wrenches. So the wrench that I just showed you, and then another one that's a little larger that goes here. And you're going to twist this off, and then this will unscrew. Once this unscrew, you're going to have some seals in there. Look at the pattern, because there's usually, depending on the shock, there could be a little O-ring, a spacer, and an O-ring, and then sometimes you will have little plastic caps on both ends. So it just really depends. And then there's going to be a large O-ring, usually sealing this part. So that's what generally wears. And if you are in a place with a lot of fine dirt, that dirt will find itself inside from time to time, and then you'll notice that the shocks just feel kind of grimy as you go up and down. Maybe the piston is worn out, so this little plastic thing, and then you have to replace it. So let me just show you the inside real quick. Now, one of the things I like about team associated shocks versus these, or the basic Traxxas shocks, is that they use a nut instead of E-clips. That's also true with Traxxas GTRs. So for these, there's a little E-clip right in here. Now you can pop that out really easy, no problem. There's going to be, usually there's another E-clip on the bottom. We'll see if this one has an E-clip or if it has a different system for the bottom. But there's the E-clip. Just grab a, you can do it with your pick. There's the E-clip. That's why they're called E-clips. It looks like a little E. It's not really focusing. There's a little tab in the middle. Versus a C-clip wouldn't have that tab in the middle. But if you do that, notice this isn't pulling out. So there's more than likely another clip inside. Now you can use your pick and just stick it right in one of those holes in the piston. And usually this thing will start sliding out. Then you can go into another hole and it should slide out eventually. Actually, I'm just going to hold it and then I'm going to pull down on the shaft. That didn't work. Nope. Actually, it is coming out. There we go. All right, perfect. Now I'm going to use my smaller driver. I could use the clip, the pick. Now it's too far in. There we go. All right, so here's the piston. You can just replace these if it's not that much wear. These will wear, the edges will. But then one of the things to note inside, there's another E-clip. So this is just like a basic Traxxas shock, the same idea, E-clip, piston, E-clip. So if you remove that E-clip, then you can pull this down. I'm gonna be honest, if you remove that E-clip, you're going to have to remove this in order to put that E-clip on first and then put the shaft in and then put this piece here. So you're gonna need some shock pliers to just hold this, and then this will just twist off. So instead of removing the E-clip or doing this whole thing, if you're gonna take the whole thing apart, so these go up top, that part goes on bottom, so there's those little circles, phone's not really catching them. I would recommend to just use the tool, grab the shaft, and then take this off and then just push this up. It's much easier because of that E-clip versus the GTR design or the team associated design on the SE6 line of vehicles. It's a nut, so you just hold this, you grab your little nut driver, that thing comes out, and then the shaft just pulls out the bottom. Much easier. But let's just say we've already built everything, so just grab the E-clip, place it in there, and then once it is in there, you can just use your pliers or a flathead screwdriver, and then you simply just push it in, and that's all you do. So hold the shock here. Actually, the flathead, given the amount of space, would have been a better choice. But there it is. That's all you do. You just slide it in. And that is set. So now to fill it, we're going to go ahead and use this oil. So just be consistent with the type of oil that you use. This is just some extra Traxxas oil that I pretty much never use. But as long as both of them get it, it'll be fine. And I do have another bottle right next to this one. All right. Once you do this, go ahead and push this up and bring it down. I'll get rid of the air. Which there really isn't much. There's a very small amount of air bubbles right there on that side. But I can take care of them right now. Okay. And that's it. All right, let's see. Actually that's fine with oil, but I'm still gonna put a little more oil just to get rid of the meniscus. Oops, now it's gonna spill. But no big deal if it spills. Just grab a little rag or something, fold it. Let me bring this down a little. Now, the next step is very important. It's a simple one. There's a little piece of rubber. You can put that in first. It's up to you. You can put it in after. But when you go to screw this on, go left until you hear a click. So you're pressing down lightly. Once it clicks, then go right. If you do this, you run less of a chance of cross-threading the shock. Now, these happen to be aluminum on aluminum, but you can still cross-thread aluminum on aluminum. Now, I'm going to show you something here. I tighten the whole thing. You don't want to do this because now there's going to be a ton of pack. So now, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this up to the point where I can compress the shock all the way, and you're going to notice some oil is going to leak out, and that's fine. Hold it. You don't want the shaft going up and down. All right, so whatever had to leak has leaked out. Now we can go ahead and just tighten the whole thing. Actually, I'm going to do it again. Still too much pack, so let's go ahead and loosen this a little. And the only reason why I'm using the shop towel here is so it absorbs the oil. And now we go back in. And that's it. All right. Now this is set, so we can go ahead and install the spring. Spring will go in here. And if you notice, this is keyed, so that's going to go See the rounded side toward the back and that flat side goes toward the front. And that keeps the lower spring mount from rotating about the shock shaft. All right, so we can get this out of the way. And then I can clean out that box later. So I'm gonna go ahead and just mount this. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna take this. Now there's a thicker side and a thinner side. The thicker side goes toward the shock tower. That's going to cover the nut. Actually, it doesn't cover the nut, it just goes close. And the shock's going to go there. And then you can just put the nut here and use your nut driver to drive it in. You can also use your 2mm driver if you see that this screw is spinning to just hold it back here. I don't think it will. And it did not. Snug is all you need. Do not over tighten it or else you can destroy that piece of plastic. But that is it. So now that we've covered this little section, we can go ahead and work with this. So for this portion, the pin just comes out, so if you have to replace it, that's all that happens. Now here you have these two little heads. It's a 2.5. And be careful when you remove this, and the reason why is there's a little washer there you don't want to lose, or a shim, it might be a shim, I'll see. But you just use your 2.5, so you have a screw on each side, and this screw will come out. Actually, it should be those little hats. And here we'll have the other one, so we're just going to remove the two. And then once you remove the two, the arm will be free. So in order to remove the arm, the only thing that you have to do is remove those two screws. This will come out. You have the two little hats here. There's one. There's two. Make sure you put these bushings in there, or on the new arm. And then you remove the A block, and then this will just slide out. So that's the arm. That's how it works. We'll go ahead and place it here, place that there, and we'll continue on with this part. I'm not going to remove this link, but just use a 2mm driver here and a 5.5mm nut driver on this side, and the link would come out. This link is just a 2mm driver, and this link will come out. What I am going to do is talk about this construction right here. Now, the hex is already off, and there's a pin that goes in here. That's this pin. If you watch some of the other videos, this fell off because, well, the hex got stuck. Now, that's not the original hex. Somebody replaced that, and that's the reason why. So this is the important part. This is just like the rear. So this CVA is just like the rear. There's a little pin in here. So go ahead and punch that pin out. And once that pin comes out, this will free up. Remove this. There's a little barrel in here. And you want to pop that thing out because that will be, you will need to lubricate that. So whenever you do a cleaning, make sure that you pop that out. And if it's kind of stuck or doesn't want to come out, just use a punch. But let's see, we'll get this one out. Yeah, so this one's in desperate need of maintenance, this truck. Give me a moment. Keeps spinning, that's why. There we go. All right, that's this little barrel here. So this needs cleaning. And just give me a moment. But these are parts that get neglected quite often. And they're parts that actually require a lot of maintenance. I'm not going to say the most maintenance, but definitely a lot of maintenance. Actually, perhaps the most maintenance. But they are the parts that I would say are the most commonly neglected. Differentials as well, but I think these suffer the most because differentials are usually sealed. So because differentials are generally sealed, they don't require as much attention as these parts. These parts are exposed to the elements just because of the position where they are, and people generally forget about them. So with these, use grease them up. If there's excess grease, don't worry about it. Sometimes the grease will help create a barrier and it'll sort of catch dirt and just hold it on the outside so that it doesn't enter the parts. So don't worry about grease. I'm gonna say on these, there's really no such thing as too much unless it's leaking everywhere and making a mess, then it's too much. But as long as everything is well greased, everything should work perfectly fine. There we go. All right. Once everything's greased, the barrel's in there. Notice the hole. You want to line it up with this hole, and then you drop the pin back in. What holds the pin inside is the bearing. Here we go. Bearings are another thing that get neglected, but bearings have shields, so that's why you can get away with neglecting bearings a little bit longer. Let's see. Okay, that one's not going to the other side. Generally, you just wiggle it around a little and it goes in. But let's see if we can get this one to go in one way or another. All right, almost there. Oops, dropped it. All right, let's just drop it, so that'll help. Oh, wouldn't you know? It almost did. There we go. All right, so that is it. This is now installed, so this now works. And, oh, there we go. Sorry, I was off camera. So this is it. That's what creates that articulation. So this should be able to move in a circle. All right. The next step, the bearings. In order to pop the bearings, bearings are quite simple. You simply just stick a driver and you pop this inside bearing out. So you grab a driver and then you just tap on the bearing, it'll pop it out. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other bearing. So this is the inside bearing. Notice the driver. All right, and then just punch a little to one side and then a little to the other. Get your fingers out of the way in case the driver slips. You don't, catch your finger with it. Almost there. And there is the bearing. All right, so the bearings are out. Now that the bearings are out, I didn't have to do this, but I'm gonna go ahead and take this 1.5 millimeter driver, and I'm gonna take this little set screw out. So I've got my little presser out, and this should come out. Here, give me a moment. Oh, can't seem to get it out. All right, man, this thing was desperate need of service. But let's see. All right, this thing's stuck. There we go. All right, so here's the pin's coming out. Yeah, this definitely needs to be lubed. So there's a little lip right here. So that set screw just comes in, sits right in here, and that's what holds it. So you do the same thing to this other one, and I'm gonna do this off camera. I'm actually gonna build everything and go back and do it, but you wanna make sure that these are maintained as well, or else they get really hard and they stop moving easily. Let's see, there we go. So I'm just gonna drop it in. So you drop that little guy in, and once it's there, that's all you do. Now you grab that little pressure screw, set screw, grub screw, whatever you call it, the screw, screw-like thing, and you just drive it in. Snug is all you need. That's it. Don't over-tighten. You don't need to over-tighten. Actually, I might as well do the other one. I'm already here. I'd rather do it now. But the other side is going to be the same exact design. So here's a little set screw. Just grab your pliers, grab it from the head. Oh, this one was a lot easier to remove. Still in desperate need of maintenance. So when buying a vehicle, that's something else that you want to keep in mind, the ease of maintenance. This vehicle I do like, but some of these things, you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Maintenance is pretty straightforward. Just like all vehicles. And I know it's fun to have, say, 20 rigs, but if you can't maintain them, don't bother. You know, just get one. You'll have more time for it. Here we go. It's up to you, right? It's capitalist society, your money, buy whatever you want. But that is it. So by removing these, this would actually come out. I didn't remove it completely. But then just grab the bearings, and the bearings will just go in there. Try to place them as flat as possible, because if you do, it'll be much easier for them to go in. That one went in smoothly. Once the bearings are in there, you can go ahead and grab this. This will go inside, and remember the bearing's going to hold the pin, so don't worry about it. And now we can go ahead and install this on the arm. So we need to put these bushings inside. One goes one way, one goes the other. Recommendation, do not tilt this, keep it horizontal. And so let's go ahead and do that. And we'll drive a screw in. All right, 2.5 millimeter. And I'll get it close, but not all the way, especially if it's new plastic. If this is new plastic, I recommend that you thread this before you install it to make sure that it threads straight and even. So here we go. And snug is all you need. Do not over tighten. Remember, it's metal on plastic. It's going to be fine. Think of nylon nuts. Nylon nuts, that's the whole point. Nylon on metal. But there we go. So this is it. Now I can go ahead and start the rest of the process. So we'll go ahead and put this shock in here, and it should go in the outer hole just to match that one. So we'll go ahead and grab the screw, and it's the longer one of those two. Those two shorter screws that I have there, those are for the sway bar. And I'm not, here, let me go here, and there we go. Nope, still didn't get it. There we go. Now I got it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drive this in. And almost there. Snug is all you need. That is perfect. And let's see. Well, this kind of fell out of place, but that's all right. I don't have the bulkhead on, so this could actually wait. But I'll place it there anyway. Oh, sway bar is out of the picture, or out of the way. So there we go. Let's move the sway bar back here where it belongs. Now that the sway bar is facing the correct direction, I can go ahead and do this. I'm gonna twist there. So I'll set the arm here, so that's all right. There we go. And now that this is out of the way, I think I'm going to do the links. The links would be easier if I were to do them. Well, this link anyway. So I'm going to go ahead, it should be the top hole, just to match the other one. If you moved them to the lower holes, that works as well. And I'm going to use both drivers. I'm going to use the 2mm driver as well as my 5.5mm driver. And then I'm just going to drive them in. Here we go. Perfect. Let's get the shock oil out of the way, because I don't want to spill it, even though it has a cap on. There we go. So now I can go ahead and do the sway bars. There we go. I can go ahead and set the screw. Now that the screw is in there, we have this. Here we go. Right in there. All right. I'm going to place this. As soon as this is in, then I can move the arm in place and I can drop the pin right through here. All right. Now that the pin is in there, I just need this block. So remember, little steel piece, those teeth go toward the bottom and it'll just brace everything there, and then that's where the screws are going to go through eventually. And we'll put the two screws in and we are finished. Almost, not quite. That's if I can get them in the right spot. There we go. All right. Like I said, this Tenacity TT Pro by Losi is actually a great truck. This is a truck that I do like. Again, you just have to maintain it just like any other vehicle. But the arms are quite robust for an RTR. The shock tower is, both of them are very robust. The shocks are good as well. Again, for me, my favorite electric bass short course is a kit, and it's the Techno SCT 410.3. But if you want an RTR, this is probably the best for an RTR price point. But here we have it. So this is the assembled front end. So on the next video, I'm gonna go ahead and button everything up. So I'll make the front, the rear, steering, the works. Thank you very much for watching. Please comment, subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!